Okay.
Oh yeah, Carla, are you going to show rin yung from the network map ng Twitter?
Yes, I will show that. So I'll just start by quickly reintroducing the idea of narrative mining. And then today, I'll just demonstrate, may mga ganitong stuff. I'll demonstrate the network analysis part of it. And then this will probably have to go over the course of several sessions kasi medyo madaming other stuff apart from that. But basically, ito nga, as Doy and Rico were saying earlier, narrative mining is sort of this methodology that we are still currently developing that's based, that uses a lot of techniques from NLP and network analysis. And then, as you can see here, there are sort of three major components to our understanding of a narrative. Of course, we kasama na dun yung content. So what are people saying? And then that's where the topic modeling stuff comes in, yung malit. But then we also want to be able to identify who are the people who are saying these things and then in what way are their messages spreading. So that's where the stakeholder mapping comes in naman. And our primary tool for stakeholder mapping is network analysis. Network analysis can also be used actually for content. So in a network, we can look at semantic networks and actor networks. But for today, I'm just going to talk about networks of people. And in our terminology here in the team, we're calling those actor networks. And an example of that is the stakeholder mapping. Next time, I'll also demonstrate how semantic analysis networks works because we need that for, hindi ko pa na-introduce to so it might sound a bit weird or confusing. But we have this thing called narrative congruence, where basically we're able to measure the extent to which the narratives of one group of people overlap with the narratives of another group of people. And in order for us to do that, we have to be able to create networks of the content and not of the people. So dun papasok yung semantic networks, but I'll get back to that in a future session. For today, let's talk about actor networks for our stakeholder mapping. Okay, so I'll quickly talk about, I'll define probably what a network is. Ito pala, so there are semantic networks and actor networks. I'll just jump between different files now. Wait lang. Where is that? First, I'll define probably what a network is. And you might already know this stuff na, pero ulitin ko lang. Just so we're all on the same page. Okay, so I got this file from somewhere. And they just have some basic definitions here. But a network is basically a collection of objects and that are related to one another in some way. So usually they are represented as nodes and edges. So a node is oftentimes typically they're represented as some shape like a circle like this. So this is a node. It's the node of the real Donald Trump. And then if they are related to another node, then there will be a line drawn between them. So that line is called an edge, and it represents the relationship of those two nodes. Another term for node is vertex, and then you need to know that because in the software that we use, they say vertex instead of node. And in an actor network, like what we do for stakeholder mapping, each of these nodes represents a person. So for Twitter, it's an account on Twitter. So this network map that you're looking at here is something that we created for Donald Trump's Twitter. And these are the people who have engaged with Donald Trump on Twitter. So you see here people like Nancy Pelosi, and then yung New York Times, etc. and other things. So ayun siya. Now in a network, um, there are also certain important yes, yeah. So before I get there now, before I talk about some of the statistics that we use. So again, basically in our context, when we talk about networks for stakeholder mapping, there has to be some kind of relationship between those nodes. So in the context of Twitter, like for what we did for the Greenpeace report, if two nodes are connected, meaning there's an edge between them or a line, then that means that they mentioned each other or they replied to one another or they retweeted one another. So for Twitter, that's the specific meaning of an edge. Okay. And most of the time for this project, we'll be looking at social media networks. And we typically only use Twitter kasi siya yung pinaka-open. And marami din naman activity on Twitter. So I think it's a good place for us to work din naman. Facebook is very closed up compared to Twitter. It's very hard to get data from Facebook. Kaya most of the time sa Twitter tayo. Although we are also currently looking into ways at doing the same thing for Reddit or YouTube and other things. But yun yung meaning niya within the context of Twitter. Okay. What else should I explain? Okay, maybe I'll just talk about some basic concepts no, kasi you'll encounter this in the software. So in a Twitter network, usually it's a directed network. And what a directed network means is the direction of the relationship matters. So for example, in Twitter, the reason why it's directed is because let's say I reply to Tim or I mention Tim. So parang I am the source of that engagement or I initiate that engagement and it goes towards Tim. So that's what you mean by a directed graph. It might an example of an undirected graph would be, let's say you just make a network, let's say of people who work together. So you would cluster together people from the same office. So hindi naman directed yun kasi, you know what I mean? Doesn't make sense there's no direction that exists there. But in our case, usually it's a directed network. Okay, what else do I need to do? Sige, I think I can jump into the software and then as we go along, I'll define some of the statistics that will come up there. So we use a few tools. We use several tools for our network analysis for narrative mining. And one of the most useful ones is NodeXL. So Tim already has a license for this. I have my own license. And then yung license ni Denise, I'll transfer it to someone na lang in the team. And then I'll buy additional licenses for the rest na wala pa. Shit, nagsa-slow down siya. Shut down ako ng apps. If you have any questions at any point, anyone, just feel free to jump in. Shit, parang nahirapan siya. Wait lang ah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Medyo nagsustruggle yung laptop.
Oh, no.
Anyway, let's just go ahead with it. Parang nagpa-freeze siya.
Tapos mag-fun.
nga.
Working hard.
Wait. Let's see what I can do. Kaya hindi smooth ang experience natin. It's still... Then medyo mas... I need to close some of these apps. Anyway, okay. So NodeXL is I think it's an Excel plugin, and then it can do a lot of stuff for network analysis. The first thing that you can do with it is gathering data from Twitter. So I'll just show you the steps, and then once you have your own copies of this, then you can try it out on your own. It's actually quite easy to use now. So here in the NodeXL tab, if you want to do a Twitter search, you can do it through this. Click on import, and then you will see here Twitter search network. My gosh. Nahirapan siya. Wait. Kailangan kong ulitin to. Let me just restart my Excel. Okay. Parang when it's on the TV, ang bagal niya. Pero pag nandito siya sa screen ko, normal naman.
Pwede kami nang dyan, Carl.
Maybe. See, I'll try again. Hmm. Yeah, maybe you guys should just come here. Medyo nag-struggle siya. Let me just detach this. Can you guys see? Okay. So there's a function here. It says Twitter search network. If you click on that, lalabas tong pop-up na to. And then you see this field here. You just need to enter a search query
Wait,
following
Carla,
Twitter.
sorry. I can't see anything.
Oh, let me start my share again. Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So there's this field here, and then you just need to insert a search query following the Twitter syntax. So the easiest way to do that is to go to Twitter Advanced Search. And then you can put in stuff here. So for example, let's say, ano bang pwedeng search? Let's say, what's interesting?
Coronavirus.
Pero feeling ko sobrang dami nun. Oh, baka better normal kasi. So, yeah.
Bye guys.
Bye.
See you Monday.
Bye. So, for example, it says here, these hashtags. So you can put there better normal. And then maybe you can search that na. And then there are other options naman here, no? So you can put in whatever you want, and then you can just copy whatever is here. Parang may lalabas na boolean string dito. Then you can just copy that and then paste it here. Right, so you can take whatever you have on Twitter and then paste it here. Oh yes, you need to have authorized your Twitter account pala. So if you don't have a Twitter account, you'll need to create one. And then this will take probably a day. Actually, less than a day naman. But basically, you need to create a Twitter developer account.
Hindi ako naka-create pero natanggap siya.
Natanggap siya just
Yeah.
with your regular
Yeah.
credentials.
Yeah.
Okay, disregard what I just said. Pwede, kahit hindi developer account pala.
Si Denise din hindi rin niya nalagay sa Twitter.
Oh, okay, so you just need a regular Twitter account pala
Yeah.
and then authorize the app to use it.
Mhm.
And then once you have that, usually we just select the basic network. And then to make it a bit quicker lang, let's limit this to 1,000 tweets. And then just click OK. And then what it will do is it will start gathering tweets. Then you can see ayan, getting page, whatever.
Sometimes it takes hours.
Yeah, kung nasa madaming content yan, it can take a very long time. So hopefully, mabilis lang to. Mga hanggang page 3 lang naman siya. So it shouldn't take too long. Probably a minute or two.
Also kapag maraming data, may captcha to 250,000 tweets na.
Yeah.
Captcha. And then
Yeah.
1 week lang din yung coverage.
Yeah, so that's another thing then. What you can reliably get from this is only about a week old. So that's something to keep in mind. You might have to do it, depending on the requirements, you might have to do it a few times to make a report. Just give it a minute.
So essentially, kapag node pa ng 1 week, there's no way to get that data anymore.
We have to use yung full archive search ng Twitter. So we're subscribed to that. But the thing is, right now ginagawa pa ng devs yung parang UI niya.
Gano'ng katagal pa daw?
Sabi na it might take a couple of weeks.
So ganda yun guys, yung code na lang bigay nila.
Yeah. And then if you notice sa MMI, meron din naman siyang Twitter. But our data partner kasi yung style nila, you have to enroll specific accounts. Tapos yun lang yung lalabas dun sa app. So yung na-enroll lang natin dun puro news media or politicians. Wala masyado yung regular people. So it's pretty limited. Let's just give it another minute. Baka dapat ginawa kong 500 lang.
Pero once na-set up na yung API ni Twitter, do you think we'll still be using this? NodeXL?
Kasi this has some, it does have some advantages. So this allows you to, can do things like count the most replied to, most retweeted, most mentioned. But the data that we got from the Twitter API, pinasok ko pa rin siya dito for analysis. But it couldn't do those things anymore. Kasi I think the way that the data is structured kapag siya yung kukuha, it can do that. But yung binigay natin from the kinaben, couldn't.
So yung Twitter API can take any tweet regardless of date. Tama.
Yes, kasi it's full archive.
Pero this
search.
one is 1 week.
This one is 1 week. Kasi I think they're using the basic free API of Twitter. Ugh. Come on!
Dami palang better normal.
Pero umabot lang siya ng page 3 eh. So, I don't expect that to take a long time.
Baka na-cap. Kasi parang nagka-cap siya every 100,000 ba yun? Something. And then magko-continue ulit siya after 2 hours.
Come on!
Do you have a reserve file?
I actually do, but then may laman na siya eh. So parang I want to show sana how you populate it with the different numbers and stuff.
Nako, yun nga lang yung advantage nito is madali siyang i-turn into a network.
Yes. Yeah.
Pero yung kapag dun sa API na, yun na.
Yeah, you need to do your thing pa where you create that network map file. Yeah.
So kahit matapos yun sa Twitter, yung sa API, matagal pa rin siya before maging fully usable. Like, kasi hindi siya parang ang sinabi is hindi pa rin dito. Tama ba?
Wait, let's see.
So bale, kasi If you use NodeXL to get data from Twitter, automatically it will create, it's parang yung fields niya, nakaset up na siya for network analysis kagad. So, meron yung laman na kagad yung vertex 1, which for Twitter, it's the person na gumawa ng tweet. And then yung vertex 2, yung mga minention niya sa tweet. So, automatic na yun. But because we did not use NodeXL for yung relocalization, Tim had to take the CSV na binigay ng devs and then create a parang ganitong columns din. So, parang may steps in between pa.
Disadvantages, wala ka nito. Yung others. Ito lang meron ko.
Ba't ang bagal niya ngayon? Maybe I'll just open up another. Sige, while we wait, I'll just open up another file. If we would.
Sa experience ba ni Ben, Carl, naging reliable ba si Twitter API or nagkakaroon din siya ng pause? Like yung nangyari sa translate?
No, I think it was very fast actually. Parang sabi niya mga 2 minutes lang. Although ginawa niyang distributed daw. So that probably helped.
Siguro ilalagay na rin yan sa API.
O yun, okay.
Yay!
Okay na. Tapos din siya. I'll just close this other thing that I opened. Bye, Cathy.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. So, yung medyo nahirapan ng laptop. Okay. So, after you finish your search, you will see that the edges and vertices worksheets would already have a list of vertices. And then again, a vertex is a node, and in Twitter, that's an account, a Twitter account. So, may laman na siya. And then you will see the tweets on the edges sheet. So, if you scroll to the right, you will see here, tweet, and that's the content. So, let's just word wrap this. Yeah, so yan yung laman ng tweet. And then we gathered 178 tweets. If the tweet did not mention another person, then it might look like this, where the vertex 1 is the same as vertex 2. So they call that a self loop in network analysis. And then the next thing that you want to do after you do that is go here to the NodeXL Pro tab and then click on Prepare Data. And then what this will do, it will merge the edges. And then, okay, now I need to introduce another concept in network analysis, and that's called weight or edge weight. So edge weight basically is the strength of the relationship between two nodes. So for Twitter, if I mention Tim 100 times, then yung edge weight ng relationship namin is 100. So parang it counts lang basically for Twitter the number of times that I mentioned Tim. And it's a measure of the strength of that relationship. So this process here is, it will merge the duplicate edges and then create an edge weight column. Kasi we don't want to have, we want to be able to say na, we want to be able to, when we create the graph, we want to be able to see kung ano yung relationships na malakas. So that's why you have to do that. Merge duplicate edges and click OK. Then mabilis lang naman yan. And then the next thing that you want to do is going into groups. So itong groups, what it will do, makikita niyo naman dito later when we do the graph. It will basically put together all the people that tend to interact with one another more often. So usually, you don't interact with everyone on Twitter, diba? You tend to interact with like maybe several other people. And then here in network analysis, if you tend to do that more frequently, then you will be parang put into a cluster or a community. So that's what this does. Itong group by cluster. So if you click on that, just click on this. We use this Closet-Newman-Moore algorithm. Ayun, so it generated 19 groups already. So that's the next thing that you want to do. And then the next thing that you want to do is to go into graph metrics. Here's where we start calculating some of the statistics, and then I'll explain them naman. Maybe I'll do it one at a time so I can explain it now. So sige, let's start with itong overall graph metrics. So let's just make sure it's checked and then click calculate metrics. And then it will create this new spread, this new sheet. And then it's just basically yung metrics ng overall na network. So you'll see here that it has 64 vertices, meaning may 64 na tao dito sa network na to. There are 83 unique edges. So there are 83 connections dito sa network na to. And so on and so forth. And then the next thing that you should do is sige, so maybe let's do itong degree yung next. So if you notice, it says here vertex in degree and vertex out degree, no? Directed graphs only. So let's calculate that. And then you'll see here on the vertices sheet na may laman na yung, where is it? Hindi siya lumabas. It's weird. Oh, okay, I know why. Dapat pala gagawin mo tong directed. Okay, so it should work now. So you should make sure that this always says directed. Okay, let's do it again. I'm sure gagana. Ayun. So you see here na may laman na yung in degree and out degree. What this measures is the number of inward and outward connections you have. So an inward connection in the case of Twitter is kapag minention ko si Tim, meron siyang isang inward connection galing sa akin. So that's measured in degree. And then that's the total inward connections that you have. Outward is just the opposite of that. So meaning it's a connection that you initiated. So if I mention Tim, meron isang out degree. And that's what this captures. So for our purposes, this is a measure of engagement. Kasi it's a number of times that I was mentioned or that I mentioned someone else. And then later on, you'll see that that's the basis for the metric that we're calling activity. And then it might be a bit confusing now, but I'll send you naman files and then you'll have this recording then. But we have 3 metrics, diba? And the activity is one of them. It's based on degree. And then you just want to total those 2 columns to get degree. So you just need to sum, wait, oops, sum that. Sure. Yun. Ayun. So yan na yung degree mo. And then you can see that this person has the most engagement. So in our reports, mentioned score of 10 for activity. Okay. And then next, ano ba? Okay, so this is pretty important. So there's this metric here called betweenness centrality. And then what this means is, maybe to demonstrate, I'll just show our report. Okay. So this statistic called betweenness centrality, what it does is it measures the number of times that a node lies on the shortest path between 2 other nodes. So for example, let's say Maria mentioned Kate. So may ganyan. Di ba? Maria going to Kate. And then Anna mentioned Kate. So mayroon din siyang Anna to Kate. Pero walang direct connection si Maria kay Anna. So in this scenario, Kate lies on the shortest path between Maria and Anna. So what betweenness centrality does is it counts the number of times that a node is on the shortest path of other nodes. And the reason why that's important is Kate here sort of acts like a bridge in the flow of information.
I have a question lang.
Yeah.
So does this only apply toward in directed graphs, or does this also apply with undirected graphs?
It also applies in undirected graphs. Yeah. Okay. And then also, Kate is also in the shortest path between Hannah and Anna in this scenario. So let's say Hannah mentioned Maria. Ganyan siya kung in-map out mo yung network eh. So Kate is also in the shortest path. And then, yun nga, it's like the information that's flowing through this network tends to pass through Kate. And so that makes Kate important, an important node in this network. And that's what betweenness centrality measures. So if you see, nag-calculate na siya ng betweenness centrality. And then meron isang tao dito na napakataas ng betweenness centrality. This one. Ayun, that's another important statistic. The next statistic would be, I'll calculate both na lang, eigenvector centrality and page rank. These are measures of influence of a node. So the easiest way to explain that is, they're actually very similar, no? Page rank is based on eigenvector centrality. PageRank yung ginawa ni Larry Page ng Google, and I think that's what their yung search rankings nila is based on. But basically, for our terms, an easy way to explain it is, you should be considered more influential if your connections are with other influential people. So for example, let's say me and Sean, we both have 5 friends. Pero yung friends ko, si Sean, si Tim, si Kiara, si Doy, tsaka si Rika. Pero yung ibang friends ni Sean, si Obama, si Queen of England, si Madonna, mga sikat na tao. So even if we both have 5 friends, therefore 5 connections, mas influential si Sean kasi yung connections niya are with other influential people. So that's basically what eigenvector centrality and PageRank does. And they will tend to be the same naman, no? So I'm pretty sure if we rank this, the highest in eigenvector will also be the highest in PageRank. Yeah. So they tend naman to behave in the same way. But lately, I've been preferring PageRank. Kasi first, I'm not sure why eigenvector centrality tends to have very small values. So I just sort of prefer to work with PageRank now. But in any case, we usually normalize that naman on a 1 to 10 scale. And then we call it influence. So that's sort of the branded metric that we present to our clients in the reports. We're calling it influence, but it's actually PageRank or eigenvector centrality. Ayun, so that's that. And then there are a few things here that maybe I'll just skip for now because we don't use them as much. Yeah, maybe I'll just skip those stuff. The next thing that you can do is to create a time series. So if you click on time series and then click on options. Actually, before I do that, sorry, let's do group metrics first. So click on group metrics and click calculate. And then it will create this new, it will populate the groups sheet. So you can see in group 1, there are 19 nodes. And there are 20 unique edges in that group. So yeah, so you get that, which is very useful. And that was also represented in our report for Greenpeace. And then you can do a time series, which is basically a timeline. Let's do options. Build a time series for relationship dates, days, unique edges by days here. imported ID. That will basically create a timeline like that. We don't use it a lot, but we may as well. If you feel it's useful, it's there. And then you can also do word and word pairs. So what this will do is, here you specify the column that contains your content. So it's the tweet column. And then it will identify the top words and word pairs for each of the groups and also for the overall network. And it uses this list of stop words. So for us, we added yung Spanish stop words for the relocalization project, obviously. It can do a very simple sentiment analysis, but I don't think it's very useful. So I just ignore that mainly. Yeah, this is one of the things that can take a long time if you have a large data set. So for yung Mexico and Colombia, I think it took about an hour for that to do, for that to finish. But for this small one, mag-brace lang naman siya. You don't really need to review that right now, but later on it will come out in the graph. And then the next thing that I like to do is top items. So basically, this will show you, let's say, sino yung pinakamataas na page rank or sino yung pinakamaraming degree and stuff like that. So you just need to add the items that you want to include. So for example, add top 10 degree. So ganyan. So show top 10 degree, add top 10 betweenness, add top 10 page rank, add top 10. Maybe that's it for now. Click OK and then calculate. And then it will make a new sheet here called top items. So now you have your top 10 degree. So in our report, we'll call this the top 10 most engaging actors. And then you have top 10 betweenness. In our relocalization, we said something like top 10 actors, or parang top 10 actors by influence over flow of information or something like that. And then top 10 most influential naman yung top 10 page rank. Okay, and then finally, network top items. So what this can do is ito, mention top tweeters, top mention, and top replied to. And then you can do stuff like top domains. You can do top URLs, top hashtags. Mag-experiment na lang kayo pero maraming options yan. Ayan. So it will create a new sheet again and then all of your top items will be there. Ayan. So this is what I used to do yung parang top hashtags in a group or top hashtags in the entire network and things like that. Ayan. So after you've done that, you'll want to now create the actual graph. Kasi that's what we need to do that before we do our analysis actually. So the first thing that you should do is go to autofill columns. And this is where you parang make some decisions on how you want to lay out the graph. So click on autofill, then go to edges first. And then here, for example, you can do things like edge color based on edge weight. And then if you recall, yung edge weight, yung strength of the relationship, diba? So you can select edge weight, and then if you want, siguro yellow to red, pwedeng ganyan. You can do it that way. Then you can also set the target numbers. Baka ano lang, gray to red. That's good enough. And then edge width could also be based on edge weight. So usually that's what I do. So select edge weight. I usually just leave this as by default, but you can do whatever you want. You can make this like 100 if you want. Gawin ko lang 10. And then edge opacity. This is important for very large networks. also based on edge weight. And then sa vertices, you want the size of the circles of the nodes to mean something, right? You want it to communicate something meaningful. So usually what I do is vertex size will be, it could be page rank. So if you want the size of the node to show how influential that person is, then that size should be based on page rank. So you can do that. Then you can also set the options here. Maybe we can tell it na yung pinaka-influential 200 yung size. And then all the rest 1.5. So you can do that. Vertex color, this is usually most useful if it's the group. So that lahat ng kasama niya sa group, same color. So that's what I usually do for that. Vertex label, it will put in the name, but for me that makes it a bit medyo magulo. So I usually don't do that. But you can put the tooltip like that, vertex tooltip. Para when you hover over the graph later, you'll see kung sino yung mga nodes na yan. Okay, and then finally groups. What I do here is usually I'll select label top words or top word pairs. Para later makita nyo pag may graph na dito, parang naka-overlay na yung top words in each group, which makes it easier to analyze. And then go to group label options and then prepend the label with the group name. Para nakikita mo pa rin yung group name, makes it less confusing. And then click on autofill. And then this will generate your first graph. So ayan siya. But this is still not very useful. Ayan, if you hover over it and then yung names nila. And then here's another useful thing. If you click on them, isa-select na kaagad yung mga tweets na mini-mention sila. So you already can see very quickly kung ano yung gusto mong silipin. Then can also show you the people they're connected to. So you can see na this node over here connected with this. So pwede mong i-check kung sino to. And then it will select the tweet or rest. So it's actually very handy. But yun nga, but this isn't very useful yet layout-wise. So what I usually do is you go here and then click on layout options and then lay out each of the graphs groups in its own box using a tree map algorithm. Mas neat lang siya that way for me. And then use the grid layout for groups that don't have many edges. So if you click on that and then click layout again, may ganyan na siya. So this is group 1. These are people who tend to engage very frequently with one another. This is group 2. So nakita mo na.
What are those words?
These are the top word pairs in group 1.
Okay.
And then you can do different stuff like if you want to lay it out better, pwede mo nang palitan to. So maybe let's make the letters smaller. Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So ayun siya. This is typically the way I like to lay it out here in NodeXL. But there's another piece of software na maybe sa next demonstration na lang. It's called Gephi. It's much more powerful in terms of doing network analysis tasks. Pero I like to get started in NodeXL kasi siya na yung kukuha ng stuff from Twitter. And then you can already export a graph file that you can open in Gephi later on. Pero siguro next time ko na ikukwento yun, next week. So ayun siya. So basically what I did for the relocalization report is after I did this, kasi di ba I did my summaries per group. So I can see here na group 1 is the biggest group. And then it has 19 vertices. So now if I want to summarize this, I can see na this person is the most important. So I can start by looking at yung mga tweets that mention him. So I can just click on that, review that, all of your metrics already there. Of the metrics of that person has already been calculated. Ayun. And then basically I just go through as many groups as I can and then build the report out of that. Now this is a very small network. Yung network natin for Colombia and Mexico nasa tens of thousands of nodes yun. So medyo mas mahirap siyang i-layout. You need to spend a lot more time doing the stuff that we just showed. But it's all the same principles naman. Then ayun siya. And then after this, you can save this file, you can copy it, And this is very important. You can also export a file again that you'll open in the other program. So you can export either the GML file or the GEXF file. Maybe I'll do that just right now. Para kasama siya sa recording. NodeXL depth. So ayun siya. And then maybe just to, before we wrap up, no, I'll just show you very quickly what Gephi does kasi it's actually quite interesting. So Gephi, shit, Java problem. I won't go too into depth into this, no, pero just to give you an idea. So Gephi is actually, this is the best tool for creating complex network graphs, visualizations, and yung mga different processes dito. And then I'll just show you an example of what it can do. Yeah, so if we open that file that was just exported from from NodeXL. Ayan siya. That's the network that we just made. And then you can also do your calculations here. Let me just very quickly visualize this para makita niyo yung itsura. Ayan. Feature. Ayan siya. So that's what a network could look like. But this is a very small one. And then usually if we have to show this visualization in the report, gagawin mo siya in Gephi kasi this doesn't look as nice. Meaning. So mas dito tayo for the final visualization. Ayun, so this is an actor network. Any questions? Hindi ko pala nalipat sa Gephi. Any questions?
Wala pa naman. Kasi napanood ko na rin yung tutorial.
Okay.
Yung kay Denise.
Okay, Denise. Okay, so actually I'm really hoping for the cities and climate emergency report and for the monthly report na magawa niyo na to for those. And I think kaya naman. It's actually pretty simple naman as you saw.
Ay, Carl, yung from the API,
Yeah.
yung transform.
Yeah.
Ay, sorry. I think you have to teach that. Kasi yun yung data natin puro galing
Oh,
sa
yeah.
API.
So yeah, maybe I'll just show you how we can do that. So if it comes from the Twitter API, so I'll open up my drive.
And ito probably yung gagawin natin for cities and yung climate change. Kasi galing sa Twitter API yung tweets natin.
No, malaki to. I think the Philippines isn't so big.
We can cut it.
Yeah, let's cut it.
Siguro mga 20 lang kunin natin. Ay, wait.
Ay. Bagal ng laptop no. Ay, kumusta pala yung GPU? Do you get installed?
Ah, yeah. Doon nakafil lang ako si Kuya Ernst. And yeah, na-install naman. Pero I have to configure my computer so I need a few days.
Alright. And then I think yung sa'yo, Sean, in order na rin. So it should be here soon. And Kiara, your laptop I think is already available also.
Okay, great. Should I just get it on Monday?
Yeah, if you have Den's number, you can text him kung if you can get it then.
Yung
Okay,
laptop
sige.
ni
Ay,
Kiara is-
sorry, si Kuya then I have him on Slack. So,
I'm not sure if he's going to be checking that, so maybe I'll message him na lang din.
okay, sige. Thanks, Carlo.
Okay, let me just delete all this stuff. Ang dami pala. Okay, so I'm going to show you very quickly how tawag dito, the format, the file that Tim gives us na coming from the Twitter API data, how we can bring it into NodeXL. Hindi pa siya tapos mag-open. What the hell?
Ang alam ko, binigyan mo rin ako ng ganyang file, yung 70 megabytes. Halos hindi siya
Yeah,
lumabas.
medyo...
Hirap din siya dun sa i7. Yeah, Carly, yung laptop ba ni Kiara kaya mag-run?
It should, kasi I think it's a newer version of this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Read lang ako kasi nung 390 Denise, hindi na siya magawa.
Medyo bulok yung laptop ni It's actually decent kasi napag-games pa ako dito. It's just that this the stuff we do medyo mabigat talaga.
How much RAM is this ba?
I think this is 32 RAM.
Baka
32
yung
gigs
Microsoft Office mo is 32-bit. Kailangan is 64-bit.
Well, naka Office 365 ako so I think it will automatically give you the 64-bit.
I guess so.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's just delete. Maybe let's just get the 100 na nodes. Wait, what is this? Wait, this is not what you gave me. Oh no. Sorry, iba pala yung in-open ko kanina. Let me just close that. Okay. This should be... Anong nilalaro mo ngayon, Sean?
Nalaro?
Ah.
Any League of Legends lang muna.
League of Legends na rin talaga. So yun lang talaga yung nilalaro mo.
Lately kasi wala akong time para maglaro ng Switch eh.
Ano yung last na laro mo sa Switch?
History Dungeon, Pokemon. Medyo mahirap eh.
Talaga?
Yeah.
Hindi na nakabili ng Switch pero dati plan ko talaga pero never siya nangyari. Kaya mainly sa PC ako ngayon. You don't play games, right, Tim?
I do.
You don't?
Yeah, pero
Talaga?
rarely lang.
Saan? Which games?
PC. Resident Evil 3. Tapos ko lang.
3? Yung yung remaster or remake?
Sigil. Ganda.
Apparently yung 2 na bago is much better than the 3 based on reviews.
Hindi ako masyadong mahilig sa mga puzzle games kasi pagod na rin ako. So,
Okay.
yung 2, super puzzle siya eh. Yung 3 is like you're just fighting everything.
Right.
So, I just want to kill something.
Yung obsession ko lately, Dark Souls. So
Ba't
tinapos
ka ba?
ko
I
in
don't
the past
understand.
few months, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3.
Nakikita ko yung yung mga posts mo sa Facebook. Di ko gets bakit nagugusto mo yung Dark Souls. Why?
Dati parang nag-give up ako kasi sobrang hirap niya. But then if you sort of parang persevere, kasi accept mo lang na mamamatay ka many times, then parang maging masaya naman.
Na-try mo yun, yung Sekiro. Shadows type twice.
Yes, pero sa simula pa lang.
Hindi mo na-trip mo siya.
I'm
Souls
sure,
game din eh.
yeah, Souls game din siya, pero I'm sure I'll finish it then. Right now, Neo 2. Laro. Kasi kakalabas lang yun PC.
Ano yung yun?
It's also a Souls-like game na parang then samurai, Japan, medieval Japan setting. Kaya gamer din kasi ako. It's like, yun na yung main hobby ko right now. Okay. Now back to network analysis. Let's get the top 200. Let's just get the first 200 rows. Yeah. So all you need to do is go to import and then from open workbook. So dapat naka-open na yung file ni Tim. And then select all. For the content, format it as text. And then this is the most important one. Which edge column is vertex 1? So that again, that's the author of the tweet, di ba? So yung format ni Tim, naka-label siya as author. And then which edge column is vertex 2? Sa file ni Tim, it's labeled target 1. So ganun lang siya. And then if you click on import, i-populate na niya with that new, So yan, we have our 200 rows here. And then you just go through the same steps. So you can, again, merge the duplicate edges. And then basically do all the same things that we did. Yan, ganun lang siya.
Okay.
But again, there's some stuff that will not be present. It will not be able to do yung top URLs, top hashtags, most mentioned to, most replied to. Kasi parang iba na yung format of the data. I'm sure we can get it to work, but I haven't really figured it out yet. And then you have to make sure lagi na naka-directed setting. Kasi otherwise hindi mag-work yung ibang calculations. Ayun. So I think dun na muna tayo. There's actually a lot more that we have to go through pero next time na yun. But I think that's enough for you guys to be able to do the stakeholder mapping for the 3 reports next week. And then if ever na lang na may problems, just let me know. And I'll definitely help you out. Ayun. Any questions before we end? Medyo late na rin.
Well, di masyadong related dito sa network.
Yeah, go ahead.
With our new schedule dun sa Friday and Monday, is it possible to extend yung deadlines dito sa special?
I think we need to get it out of the way. Kasi it's sort of holding us back until we finally get it done with. It's always going to be something we have to think about. So ano na lang, let's just help each other out to do those. I don't expect it to be, it's not going to be nearly as complicated, I feel, as relocalization. And maybe we can decide on some parameters so that it's more limited lang. We don't have to, so that it's not impossible. We should be, like maybe we can decide now, let's just show them the top 5 topics or something like that. And then, or something. Let's just decide on some parameters to make it easier for us.
Yeah. Kasi may meeting tayo sa Monday. As much as I would like to come, hindi siya na-extend this project.
I don't
So-
think we should extend it.
So am I needed sa Monday?
I think you should come. I think it's important for you.
We're gonna do the work.
But what is the
Kasi I'm still cleaning yung cities data set. So wala pang nagawa, which means no network map for you guys. And then nothing from Manifold. So wala pa. Zero. Virtually, we're at 1%.
how much time will it take?
Day? Half a day. Pero kasi if yung meeting natin is at 3 o'clock, I'm going to have to do PayPal and BA in the morning, which would take like 3 to 4 hours na agad. So there's
So-
not enough time.
Let's say, well, maybe we can, but maybe we can excuse you from the meeting din naman. Although I do think it's important for everyone to be there. But, kasi parang what I want to figure out then is, we will always have requirements na reports. And at the same time, we'll always be expected to be attending the meetings. So parang we sort of need to figure out how it won't derail each other. Pag ganun.
Tim, are your NBA reports the same one we just submitted to Alec?
Yeah.
Maybe we can just have that. I have spare time in the morning on on Mondays.
I don't know how we can half it. Kasi parang we only have one reference na list. And then yung grouping niya, if dalawang people yung gagawa, magkakaroon ng two different types. Let me think about it. Di ko pa alam kung paano siya hatiin eh. Medyo tricky siya hatiin.
Sige,
Pero-
sige. But let me know if it's possible.
Sige, I'll let you know. But yun, Carla. If I'm going here on Monday, they will probably start working on Tuesday. If I'm not here by Monday, they can start working when they get home. And I,
I think if
understand.
we start on Tuesday, hindi ba doable yun? If we parang set some limits to what the report will contain.
More of like yung starting period kasi for them eh. So they still have to learn yung network. So mas maganda kung as early as possible nila ma-receive yung network apps.
Right,
So
that's true.
yun din. For me, it will be, of course, it will be advantageous for me kung I have the Monday to do it. Pero if Tuesday,
Kasi
pupush ko.
it doesn't look very good din on us if we keep on
Yeah.
extending
Yeah.
sa BNPs.
And vice versa, it doesn't look good kung wala ka dito on Monday, Friday. Yeah, so compromise, I guess. So
I think really, if we can really, kasi these reports, I feel, we also, obviously it's difficult now because it's new for all of us.
yes,
But eventually we want to get to a point where with the tools that we have and then with our comfort then with making the reports, it won't take like 3 whole days to make one report. It will take shorter. Once the processed data is already given to the
yeah. Actually, nakausap ko si Rico nung last Monday sa Lodi, and then she was talking about capping the data para mapaiksi yung time of work. Was their discussion?
Yeah,
Kasi
will that reduce the time?
I don't recommend it kasi hindi maganda yung panghawakan natin na parang we cap it at 2,000 so the observations. So, number one, di siya aligned dun sa vision mo. I don't know, medyo murky pa sa akin, di ba? Kasi parang yung evolution ni narrative mining is Zeno Labs, kaya napatanong ako earlier sa vision niya. So, kung yung vision niya is to find the truth into something, edi maka-handicap tayo when it comes to
Well, the way kasi then na we're planning to sell these products, maybe in a few months is parang the pricing is based on the amount of data that will be analyzed. So parang might be 50,000 records, ito yung price mo. And then if you go beyond that, may additional cost. So may sense pa rin naman yung parang having limits on the data. But I think it's more of on a pricing.
Sa experience ko lang, yung difference between 50,000 and 90,000 is minuscule pagdating dun sa processing. Kasi ang humahawak lang nun is yung processing power ng computer. So sabihin natin, kapag nag-apply ako ng keyword counter sa 50,000 and 90,000, ang difference lang niya is like 1 minute to 2 minutes. Very minuscule. I don't know lang dun sa network map. So, and then yung isa reason why I wouldn't recommend na i-data cap na. Kasi parang binabawasan yung data, so less yung panghawakan natin. And then yung masasave natin time isn't so much. So, yung pinakamalaking time saving natin is module. Tatanggal tayo ng module. Yan lang ang thoughts ko.
Yeah, I mean, those are good observations. I think the decision on the data caps is more on the business end.
Yeah.
Kasi it's one easy way of standardizing prices in a way that a client can easily understand. You can just tell them, for 10,000 records, this is what it will cost you.
So, basically, parang first, i-clean muna natin yung data. Ibo-boil na natin kung ilan yung data natin. And then, yun yung suggested price natin for the client. So, for example, yung use case nila has 10,000 please. And then, yun yung charge natin sa kanila.
Parang ganun.
Si client ba, pwede sila mag-opt na bawasan yung data?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they should be able to naman. Although I do agree with you, and I brought this up before na, going from, let's say, 5,000 records to, let's say, 20,000
Yeah.
will not make a huge difference in the time that we
Yes.
process it, even in the time that we spend doing our analysis. Kasi it will, let's say you do your topic modeling, it will just we will still be looking at maybe the top 5 to 10 topics anyway, right? So that is a good point naman. So maybe, pero the cap is really more of on the data, on the business end. The way we sell it to people is based on the amount of data that we process. But I agree, it's not the way to make things faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think I need to ask this question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to connect kasi yung main reason kung why they want everyone meeting is yung vision. So yung vision ni Rika is trying to make this as a service, yung narrative mining within M2. Si Doy naman, yung in-explain niya is parang narrative mining is a prototype for network analysis. So how about you?
Wait, say. So, what narrative mining really is? So, actually, sige, kwento ko na lang like the whole history of this narrative mining thing. So, noong 2019, parang Doy came to me with a problem and he said, parang how can we find a way to analyze narratives in a quantitative way? Kasi he read this book by Robert Schiller. It's called Narrative Economics. And basically, the thesis of the book is that, or at least what the book is saying is that people should spend a lot more time analyzing narratives because they have very strong influence on economic events. So parang that's like the starting point. And then along the way, we discovered, I think nakwento ko na to before, pero just so we understand kung anong pinanggagalingan nila Rica kanina. Along the way, we discovered yung stuff like network analysis, etc., all of the tools that we're now using. And then what happened was over the past year or so, we tried to come up with a way where we integrate all of these different tools and techniques to produce a report like the one that we made for Greenpeace. So that's like our proof of concept, as Doy was saying. But now our objective really is to turn that proof of concept into something that's sellable. Because right now, it involves too much time, it involves too much work, and it's not packaged in a way that's very sellable yet for clients. It's the analysis is great, content is great. Well, we can be proud of the work. Pero now we want to turn it into a productized service. So the objectives of the meetings where you guys will be involved is to figure out how we can turn this proof of concept into a product. So that's really the point of these meetings. It's not just so that they can share their vision of the big picture with you. It's actually so that we can help each other figure out what is the product that we can create out of this integrated methodology that we're calling narrative mining. So that's sort of the narrative mining end of it. Yung ano naman, in terms of the business end and the whole connection with Zeno, at this point, Zeno really is just like it's like a working group almost, where that's involving our team because we're data and analytics and then the software team. Kasi the idea is Zeno will eventually become a software company that creates solutions that will help people doing, let's say, narrative mining reports, be able to scale up narrative mining reports. So parang that's the vision for Zeno, is to create the software that can be used for, for different projects like narrative mining reports. Obviously, our input as the people who made up this whole narrative mining thing and continue to develop it, our input in those Zeno meetings is very important. And then eventually, the idea is for that to become its own company. Whereas you might have seen here in this, in our setup, the companies are always sort of interfacing and collaborating. So even if we are paid by M2, we are always collaborating with MMI. And then in the same way, we're also going to be collaborating with what will become the Zeno company. But right now, because there's no company, it's really just like a working group where people from the different companies work together. So that's sort of what Zeno is now. It will become its own company. And then in the way that M2, kasi tayo, M2 tayo, in the way that we are contributing to the work of Zeno, doon pumapasok yung sinasabi ni Doy Enrique na we are a brain trust. Kasi the vision for M2 is parang we supply the brain power for the projects that will be implemented, parang brought into production and commercialized by other companies. So for example, MMI, may na-mention si Doy kanina mga stock apps or whatever. And then if you're aware, we also do work for Meltwater, which is a media monitoring company. We do reports for them, for their Singapore and Australian clients. So what we do as a brain trust is to create systems so that we can commercialize, let's say, narrative mining down the road, where we can eventually build a team of like 50 people and they're just churning out narrative mining reports for hundreds of clients. So parang that's where we want to go. And yun yung maging contribution natin as part of M2. And then once we've built the system, the company that is actually producing the reports will be paying M2 the royalties for putting together the system. So parang ganun yung gusto natin mangyari na dynamic. Obviously right now it's still very early stages. Kaya it might feel a bit parang magulo pa siya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
parang
was just
magulo pa
wondering
siya.
kasi parang iba yung information na nasa head ko from last year.
Yeah.
Kasi yung the way that it was explained was narrative mining, experiment, prototype, Zeno Labs. Ganun siya yung timeline.
Yeah, maybe there was some confusion and maybe it also wasn't communicated very well. But I think the way that I explained it now, feeling ko kung tatanungin nyo naman si Doy, I'm pretty sure na yun naman talaga yung vision for it is that M2 is the brain trust that sort of builds these systems that can then later on be offered as products by other groups, other companies within our group. And then that Zeno naman will be creating the software for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, may follow-up question. So now may parang may like overview na kami tatlo. So right now, for me kasi medyo mixed yung function ko, which is sometimes a daily report, narrative mining, sometimes and propose and stuff. So what do you think lang? I mean, very early pa naman. Ano yung function namin tatlo?
I think I would like you guys, kasi you were hired specifically because you're a statistician with a master's in statistics from UP, and then you know data science. Ako, I was a communicator and then I just had to learn all these stuff very quickly and I'm still learning. Kiara is a psychologist. So you guys were hired specifically because you have these skill sets. And then you can play a big role in building these products and systems. So parang we see that as being really your main function here is doing the R&D, doing the product development, helping out with Zeno, helping build these products and systems. That said, so parang if you had to rank it, yun yung number one talaga. So let's say the research that you've been doing like on BERT or when you introduced Mallet, that's the most important contributions I think that you are making. And in the same way, you're going to be doing the same stuff din naman. Pero you still have to be doing the day-to-day reports for a number of reasons. The first reason is that you have to be familiar with the business. So none of you had spent any time in the agency before you're asked to work on these new things that we want to create. But let's say me, I had been with the agency for years before we started thinking of these data projects. So the first thing is you need to know what the agency actually does outside of the data stuff that we do and how it connects to that. The second is that we also need to be able to sustain the team, meaning kailangan pa rin natin kumita. And right now, yung kumikita para sa atin is yung mga these basic reports na I'm sure sobrang tedious gawin. And I hope you don't feel na, it's a waste of your time or your smarts.
No, just
Kasi I'm sure naman na it can feel a bit tedious and actually, I mean, a lot of people could do it din sa totoo lang. But it's actually very important for those reasons na kasi these clients are actually paying us a good amount of money for these reports. So even if it's tedious or not very challenging, it's a good earner for us and that will sustain the projects na mas meaningful din in the long run. Right? So it will help us keep going if we are able to do these reports. But the way I'm looking at it is, di ba, so na-bring up kanina may mga hiring na mangyayari na rin in the short term. Probably in the next few weeks, may mga bagong members na yung team. You can, over time, little by little, you can devolve your some, probably not all, kasi I think it's still good to be involved in the reports production. You will, of course, be devolving then some of that work to them. And then, in the same way that I'm now being asked to step away from the reports production, you'll also be spending more time in the R&D and product development side. So that's what I would like to happen then. So, I mean, that's why you're here actually. That's the most important reason why you guys are here. Pero yun nga, I don't want to underplay din on yung importance ng mga NBA
Yeah.
or PNB kasi important din naman talaga yan.
Actually, Carlo, I do have a question with regards sa reporting natin.
Yeah.
Since we're hiring a lot of, well, I assume we'll be hiring quite a number of people. So, diba, for example, ang ano ko lang is because the senior analyst role, it's still a bit unclear to me, or maybe because I didn't hear a lot of the explanation. Would you mind just telling me again about yung idea of the senior analyst and whether what type of reports should I give off or kind of manage, like anong ibigay ko sa kanila na reports? Because at the moment, akala ko kasi na we're only hiring for junior analysts. So I talked to a couple of the account managers on which reports I can hand off. So yeah, that's kind of like just something that I wanted to clear up so that pag kausapin ko sila again about it, like I'm clear na okay, we have the junior analyst and we also have the senior. These are the kinds of reports that they can handle, that they can do, etc.
Yeah. So yung ano na yan, yung senior analyst na yan, I'm not sure if that will be the job title now, but let's just call it that for now. Basically, their responsibility is to take away all of what I'm doing in producing reports.
Okay.
Kasi Sinadoy have really been pestering me to spend more time on the product development side. And then, because I've been spending a lot of time, let's say, doing Greenpeace, hindi ko na nagawa yung mga ibang pinapagawa on the product development side. So that's sort of where it's coming from. Now, in terms of the daily responsibilities, I think we'll need someone who can make decisions. Na, let's say, for example, Tim or Sean or you're wondering, parang hindi na realistic if we go for 10 topics. What can we do about that? So we need someone who can make that decision. And then we also need someone who can not only make the reports, kasi, so that's why it's someone who's a bit senior daw. Kasi I think it will be a mix of, I feel na medyo important na may konting comms background siya.
Okay.
Kasi the reports that we're currently producing are usually for, the clients are in the Corpcom department or the marketing department or the public affairs department or the PR, whatever, the PR team. And so I think that person that we'll be hiring has to be able to know what those kinds of people need out of our reports. It doesn't really answer your question, but I think that's I think ganun dapat siya. So the skills needed will be, the analytical skills and research skills needed to create the report, but also I think a background in comms would be important.
Yep.
Kasi if I step away from the daily reports production, no one in the team now will have a background in comms. I mean, at least no one in the team that's making the reports on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So in that sense, basically, the senior analyst basically will take over your entire role, kind of.
From the
Except-
reports making perspective.
Yeah. Okay, sige. And then, but we're still hiring a junior analyst.
Yeah, I think the idea is to continuously look for good people.
Mm-mm.
We shouldn't rush kasi I think hiring the wrong person is very damaging. But if we see good candidates for a junior analyst who can help out with the reports, I think we should still continue to screen those people because our plan naman is to scale up our reports offerings. So, sooner or later, we will really need more people to help out. And then also, yun nga, we're going to be involving all of you three guys more and more na din in the product dev discussions, which takes away time from reports production. So it's completely fine to still be screening junior members of the team, senior members of the team, the data engineer, and all of that. So ano naman tayo, continuous hiring naman tayo. Pero we have to be careful lang in hiring. Let's make sure that we're hiring the right people.
Yep. And I think as well that I guess in some way parang it goes through me first, and then if okay yung person, then I will schedule an interview with you. So you'll be able to have a better gauge as well if they would be a good fit.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. But I'll need to clear up with Rika if that's also going to be the process for the senior analyst. Kasi I'm not sure if that's the right way to go for that. Kasi we might be looking for someone yun nga, with substantial comms experience. In
Yep.
which case, it might be better if we will do the shortlisting instead of you.
Yep. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that's my question lang.
Sige. Kayo, any questions? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Kanina pa ako nag-wonder dun sa tattoo mo eh.
Yeah.
yung bakit mas darker yung iba? Parang meron kang shades of darkness dito.
Saan?
Yeah, parang siyang ano, ayun na, parang
So this one, alam mo yung sa Kalinga, si Wang Od. Yan, siya yung gumawa nito. So this is a traditional hand-tapped Kalinga tattoo. It's not machine, yung
Like
parang
that
gun
one. Yeah.
or whatever it is, yung sa iba. So this is, they have a stick, tapos may thorn sa dulo. Tapos parang ipupukpuin nila ng ganun.
kaya parang hindi siya super even.
Ayun.
Yeah, kaya medyo,
Ayun na, parang may mga black siya
parang
doon.
bara-bara yung style niya dito. And then there's a lot of scarring. Hindi siya malinis compared to yung standard tattoos.
So masakit ba? No.
Sobrang sakit nito, as in parang nagdidelirio ako sa sakit nun. And then, so this is in Kalinga. So in that place, they also, that's where they grow weed.
Nice.
So parang, so ano lang, open lang sila about it, no? And then, right before I had this done, may nag-offer sa akin ng weed. And it was a big mistake kasi parang parang nag-hallucinate na ako. The combination of the weed plus sobrang sakit. Tapos parang narinig mo, tak, mga ganun. Yeah, so it was a mistake. So if you ever go up there, I recommend don't smoke before or while having it done. It's not a good idea.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carlo, last na lang for me. Kasi
Sure.
super curious ako dun sa sinend mong article 2 days ago.
Yeah.
About yung sentiment analysis. Yung with Microsoft Watsons.
Yeah, yung IBM Watson.
Do you want to pursue that?
Yes, we should really do a lot of research into that.
Kasi buo na karamihan ng tools natin, ang wala na lang is yung data visualization na ginawa niya. Napakaganda. And then yung isang library, TextBlob, na hindi ko alam kung paano na nakakompute yung di ba may sentiment from Watson. Si Watson yung nag-generate ng happy, sad, etc. So, yung TextBlob, ginagawa niya is kinakompute niya kung gaano ka-happy or gaano ka-sad. Parang ganun yung ginagawa niya. And I have to reread it again, pero ang coolong idea. So actually parang agglomeration siya ng ideas eh.
Yeah.
So eto na lang. Gusto ko tanongin sana which one do you want? Pero what caught your eye dun sa article niya? Bakit?
I think the sentiment part is very useful kasi one of the things that Doy has constantly been bringing up with me over the past 3 or 4 years is parang kasi may siyang idea na yung emotions. So, we have this report, i-share ko din sa inyo. And then, basically what they did was, they said na itong lahat ng articles na to, happy emotions siya. And then itong mga to, frustrated.
Classify na nila yun.
Oo. So, if we can achieve something like that, I think that would be very useful for us.
Yeah.
So I would say the sentiment part is very interesting. Yeah.
Kung ganun
Oo.
yung goal, pwede natin sakyan yung current development sa sentiment analysis. Pero not near perfection. So parang throughout the years, kailangan natin na-update yung engine behind it. Pero currently, parang magandang ginawa ni Watson kasi 5 yung emotions niya.
Yeah. And I think the emotion thing is better than kasi the standard sentiment analysis that you'll find in mga media monitoring tools is positive, negative, neutral. Pero it's really not very good. So I think yung emotions thing is a bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
Mas maganda yung gano'n.
Pero parang wala ata silang documentation kung paano na-determine yung happy side.
Pero, sorry, to add on with those emotions things, psychology research has been doing that quite a bit with Twitter the last couple of years. Like they've been tracking behavior, they've been using different analysis and networks to be able to use the 5 core emotions, and even to the point of checking whether someone has Machiavellian tendencies or narcissistic.
That's really cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
And-
so if you have anything on that, just please go ahead and share. I think we can learn a lot from that.
Sige. Remember I sent in this Google Drive for all of us to share stuff. I can just upload a couple of articles there and share it against sa Fiber natin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that the files don't get lost and we always have like this backup knowledge.
Yeah, tama. I'll also put in a lot of stuff there. Actually, marami yung books na parang and articles na sinesend ko lang sa Viber. So, it gets lost. But it's nice if we have a repository for all of that.
I will download those books that you send in. Tapos I'll just put it all there. And then we can just constantly link that one para isa lang din ang link.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be helpful, yeah. And then also to add pala Tim dun sa question, I think it was a separate article yung knowledge graph thing. And then that's the one, it was a separate one or was it the same article?
I read the knowledge graph thing and I think na mabilis lang gawin yan since nandun na lahat ng code eh.
Right. So I think yung kulang na lang talaga natin doon kasi we already have entity extraction. We just need to ask Edgar to give it to us or teach it to us.
Neo4j.
Neo4j would be nice. Pero Neo4j is basically graphing.
Yeah.
So I mean there are other ways
Kailangan
of doing it.
na-draw na siya.
Yeah,
before natin
yeah.
nilagay.
Yeah, kailangan na-draw na siya. But anyway, yung nakikita kong kulang talaga na component is the parang identifying the relationship type. Maybe that's something you might want to look into.
Parang naglagay sila ng neural network doon eh.
Right.
Gumamit sila ng some type of neural network para ma-figure out yung relationship. I have to reread it again, pero may isang part doon na that's classifying something.
Kasi it's basically a network. It's just that itong edges na to may label siya.
May description.
So sasabihin niya, let's say, Sean works at M2. The way we come up with that works at is the thing that we need to figure out.
Yeah. And then, madidisplay siya sa Neo4j.
Yeah.
Pero, can you imagine kung ganun ka-ayos yung Neo4j? Sobrang laki nun.
Yeah.
Yun lang. Like, it's extremely big. Do you think it's something that could replace the current ones?
It could.
I mean, like, from observation, yung problem dyan is interpretability eh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yun yung...
Actually, sa totoo lang, it's really not interpretable yung ganito. So parang it's not that useful actually as a visualization.
Yeah.
It's like it's working in the background.
Looks cool though.
Yeah. But it's really not that useful in a report. Obviously, it's the foundation of the analysis. Pero as a visualization, it's really not that useful.
Yeah, I mean, yung dalawang yun, which one do you want me to prioritize to look at? knowledge graph o yung
Feeling ko yung knowledge graph, I
Knowledge
think
graph.
has more immediate application for us.
if I find some free
Yeah.
time, yeah, I'll do it. Interested din ako dun sa knowledge graph.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe after we get through these green piece reports, we can spend more time on
yeah.
that.
And add ko na rin dun yung translate. I guess unahin ko yung translation kasi patapos na rin yan. Translation dyan.
Ayun, tas all of that stuff, pwede mo rin kasi ikwento naman sa Zeno yan. Stuff that you've been researching, if you're ready.
Di pa tapos. I'm not that there.
Right, okay.
Pwede ko may share yung code sa translation. Kasi kanina si Kuya Ems, he was touring me around sa media meter. And then merong mga rooms of servers doon.
Yeah, my
So
server.
parang may
also
isang
does that.
guy doon who's making yung speech recognition algorithm. Tapos sinasaksak na lang doon sa isang machine doon. Kasi yung server nila is by PC.
Yeah.
Ganda nung 3019 PC. So kung gusto nyo kung nabuo ko na yung language translation, it's if kasi I haven't made it work in GPU. Maybe you guys can use it as a service lang.
Yeah, definitely.
Pero of course, it's made up by someone else yung library. It's more
That's fine.
native.
Ano naman tayo eh, nakaw-nakaw lang. With purpose.
Hiram-hiram lang. Hindi naman nakaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayan. Pero yes, I would say that and the knowledge graphs would be super helpful for us. In fact, they can be very easily productized.
Yeah. Tsaka for narrative mining, support na rin siya.
Oh, definitely. I think
yeah.
it would make it much better actually.
Yung emotion thing ba, is it a new module ba? The way you're thinking about it?
No, I think it's just an enhancement of what we have.
Kasi I think, kasi the way that it was processed, it would take a long time. Siguro a day or a day and a half.
Right.
Tapusin. Like kasi it's neural networks, even though we graphics card. We're not there yet. Wala pa tayo sa quantum.
Yeah.
So, ayun lang. Sorry guys, medyo nag-extend.
Yeah, that's fine. Ano to, important discussions to.
Sinusulat ko lang din.
Hindi ko pa pala nabigay sa yung Christmas gift na. Sa bahay siya.
Thanks Dan.
Dalhin ko lang next week.
Meron nga yung New Year. Yung Chinese New Year.
Oo, yung tikoy. Ayun, sige.
Thanks guys.
Ganun lang muna tayo. Let's enjoy our weekend for now. Although kami ni Kiara baka may gagawin for Clover.
Oh no.
Yeah. Pero Carlo, ang kulang ko na lang man sa, sorry, medyo na-delay yung report. I was helping Tim with NBA.
Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries.
Ang kulang na lang, the only thing I haven't filled up yet is how does this affect Clover? And then and yung commentators. But after that, it should be ready for you to edit.
That's fine. I mean, kasi the routing naman is on Monday. That's when Tabs and Doy will take a look. So I think as long as we can give it to them by then we should be okay.
Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
All right. Sige, goods na tayo.
Thanks, Kiara.
See you soon, Kiara. I hope
Sure.
you don't have.
Thanks, guys.
I hope your swab test comes out clean. Yeah.
Oh, oh my God, kinabahan pa naman ako para bukas. Pero sige,
You'll be
hopefully I
fine.
get to see you guys on Monday in
Yeah.
person.
One.
Wait, so 1 o'clock sa Monday?
The original schedule was 1:30, pero let's see na lang if it will change. But as of now, it's still at 1:30.
Okay, sige.
Yeah.
See you. Happy weekend.
Happy weekend. Bye.
Bye.
All right.